Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I have next to me the update 4.0 patch notes for the first part of Infinity War about 1 year ago, and you can see the posting date of those patch notes was the 19th of April 2018. Why am I talking about Infinity War Part 1 patch notes when we're already on Endgame? Well, it's been suggested and it's been suggested that there will be a second part of Endgame. Now, I know some of you guys think I work for Netmarble, and yes, I was on the Facebook live stream, but no, let me set the record straight one more time. I did not, and I do not have any future information about any updates whatsoever. But I will be keeping this video as spoiler-free as I can because I don't want to reference anything in Endgame. But that is essentially why both Infinity War and Endgame are likely to have two parts. We know that Infinity War had two parts because we were playing the game when it happened, and that's why there's a 4.0, which was Infinity War Part 1, and then there was a 4.1, which was Infinity War Part 2, the second update inspired by Marvel's Infinity War. And I will be giving you guys some proof, some examples, some evidence that there will probably be a part 2, and then I want to discuss what part 2 could bring, and then just discuss what you should do with that information, because it not only matters to what you're developing right now in terms of your resources, but also crystals and purchasing uniforms. But first, I want to give you a bit of a target for when Endgame Part 2 could be coming if you're saving up for that next paycheck, or you just want to know because, you know, taking a day off work or whatever, or just you getting ready to play a bit more hardcore. And so on the 19th, we actually had a bit of a drama last year. The patch notes were accidentally leaked, I believe, in Chinese, or in another language, Turkish or something, and so the patch notes were translated into English, and people were speculating for a few days, and so Netmarble actually released a notice commenting on the leak, saying yes, it was an accidental leak. Someone accidentally posted the patch notes too early, and so we're going to be posting them early for you guys, fully translated and properly corrected, so that there isn't any confusion. So the update didn't actually happen on the 19th of April. These patch notes were posted quite a bit earlier than normal. Normally patch notes happen 1 day before an update, but this was actually 6 days before the update, so almost a full week. The update actually happened on April 25th, 2018, which is very similar to this year. We got it on the 23rd or the 24th, depending on the time zone. No, the 23rd. 24th? Anyways, the 23rd or the 24th. I keep forgetting because it's at 2 o'clock in the morning. It happened just a couple of days before that this year, so we're pretty much in line as far as that. However, it took a while for part 2. If you guys remember, I released a video a few days after saying that I thought the update was going to land on May 9th because of the in-game events that hinted that they were going to be finishing and the sales that were going to be finishing. I was completely wrong. I was 20 days off. The update actually took 34 days from Part 1 to Part 2, and Part 2 landed on May 29th. So potentially, we could be waiting 30 plus days, which would put the update at around, at the earliest, the 22nd or 23rd, sorry, the 21st or 22nd of May, possibly the 28th or 29th of May, 2019. I know, there's still a long way to go. And yeah, it's too early to be talking about update 5.1 in terms of what we can expect. I'm not bored, or I'm not missing or lacking any content for Marvel Future Fight Endgame. I still have tons of things that I want to talk about for Endgame, but I wanted to cover this because there's a lot of speculation in the community, and quite a few people are using the possibility of a new update to kind of confuse or cloud their judgment for whether they should purchase uniforms or not. So I think it's pretty important to touch down on that. So first I want to point you guys to basically the only source of information, or the only source of proof that we have for the possibility of a part 2. So if you go over to Google and you type in App Store Marvel Future Fight and you hit enter, and you go to the iTunes Store, or if you just go on your Apple device, whether you have an iPad or an iPhone, and you go to the App Store and you look up Marvel Future Fight and you read under the updates, because there's always there's a preview in terms of like what the game does in general, and it's just kind of blurbs about, you know, an epic blockbuster action RPG, just your general salesman pitch of what the game is and what you you can do in the game. And then there's a new one for every update that they add that kind of lists what's coming new in the update. And everything here we know. Tier 3 Thanos, character's potential, world event, whatever. But then you go through all of the uniforms and team suits, and you see here at the very end we have Thor and Captain Marvel. And this is what caused people to go into a bit of a tizzy, and rightfully so. So I can neither confirm nor deny the possibility of a part 2, but this pretty heavily hints at part 2. And if we use the information that we have from the Infinity War part 2, I mean, just think about the movie Infinity War. Think about what the characters did and where they were in the movie, etc. for Infinity War, not for Endgame. And now look at all of the content that was saved for part 2 of Infinity War update, so that they wouldn't spoil the movie, or just because they wanted to stretch it out into 2 updates. We have Scarlet Witch's uniform, Doctor Strange's, we have the Hulkbuster uniform with the big reveal about, Hulk not being in Infinity War and it being Bruce Banner inside of Hulkbuster. We've got War Machine's new uniform that he debuted, and he flies into Wakanda, nuking everything. We've got Star-Lord's Infinity War uniform, which has the third skill where he uses Doctor Strange to put those circles on the ground and he dances around. That was a major spoiler for the fight on Titan against Thanos, so obviously they couldn't put that in part 1. We've got Rocket as well with his new uniform. You've got Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian. And then you've got a whole bunch of new content. You've got Tier 3 Iron Man and Tier 3 Spider-Man. Not spoilers at all for Infinity War, but still quite cool. You've got the new World Boss Ultimates that tie into the uniforms. Then we've got some other quality of life stuff. They actually made some changes to the bunch of changes to the shield shop. They also added more. They basically added new inventory slots by making existing tickets stack on top of each other, which saves people, tens, possibly hundreds of inventory spaces. And then they made a couple of other quality of life changes. So that is basically what happened between part 1, or round 1, and round 2, part 2 of Infinity War. So can we expect something similar for Endgame? I don't know. Where would Thor and Captain Marvel's uniforms go if not in a part 2 of Endgame? That's pretty much the answer you have to ask yourself. I can't think of a better excuse or a better reason to have Thor and Captain Marvel there. There's no way that that was an accident, because if it was an accident, it would have been removed by now by Netmarble, because they don't want to make promises to the fans, to the community, and then just take them away. There would be no reason to do that. There'd be no reason to send that information, because it has to be sent from Netmarble to the Apple App Store to be processed, to be posted. And so they would obviously double and triple check that, because it has to be posted in English. It has to be posted in other languages as well for the App Store, not in English. So there's just no way that this mistake was done by accident. It's no way that it was a mistake. So where are Thor and where is Captain Marvel? Part 2 Endgame, I presume. What else can we really expect from a part 2 of Endgame? Well, unlike the World Boss Ultimate last time, where we got an update to 2 of the bosses, I don't think they're going to necessarily update the world event, because the world event right now, it's hot. It's so hot. And it's a lot of fun, and it's fresh and unique enough. I think a lot of players, or at least some players, complained about World Boss because we were all forced to play just Proxima every single day for 34 days. And so people, after 34 days, they're like, man, her hair's really nice and she's pretty thick, but seriously, we need to fight somebody else. Like, this is kind of, we got used to fighting 5 different World Boss Ultimates, or 6 actually, World Boss Ultimates with the old system. You guys made a new system, but you only added 1 boss, so that's kind of understandable. But World Event is a completely different beast, where you constantly playing with different characters, and you're forced to play with those characters, so it's extremely unique. Whereas with World Boss Ultimate, you can just play with your same 5 best teams every single day. This forces uniqueness, this forces variety on you, and so the bosses don't necessarily have to change at all. I mean, yeah, it would be cool to mix it up once in a while, but honestly, I'm still really getting used to it, and I think in a month I'll still be looking forward to World Event, and I'll be much less tired of it, or much less, used to it than I was for World Boss Ultimate. So there is a chance, there's a good chance, and I'm hoping that it's a high chance, I'm hoping that it's a guarantee, that they will be making changes or additions to another existing game mode, whether it's adding an additional stage of World Boss Raid, perhaps against Thanos in his endgame suit. Some people have also speculated that Thanos could have his World Boss Ultimate stage revamped to reflect his Endgame uniform. That's a possibility, but again, they've put a lot of work into his Infinity War World Boss Ultimate stage, and it came even later than Part 2, so I don't really see that happening. I mean, it's been around for less than a year. It's still an extremely difficult World Boss Ultimate, and it's by far the hardest one, so I like the way that they've structured it, where this is Infinity War, and having Endgame being part of a different part of the game in terms of, you know, a different challenge or a different mode, I think would be a bit more exciting, and it would have a bit more flavor than just, you know, changing the existing World Boss Ultimate game mode. And it means that they get to change another existing game mode or improve it. I don't think World Boss needs to be improved. I think it's really, really good as is. Of course, we're all still waiting for new World Boss Ultimates, but the existing ones are damn good. I don't think any of the existing World Boss Ultimate stages need to be updated. Additionally, some people have speculated that we're getting a second Legendary Battle. Again, very unlikely. The first Legendary Battle is not being well received by the community. I started with a famous no, and it was a bad no. I'll tell you that. It was not a good no. And so I don't think that they're going to double down on another Endgame Legendary Battle. They didn't have one for Infinity War, despite the fact that they definitely could have had one. And if you look back at these stages, there really isn't a lot of spoiler content. I mean, the battle on Titan could possibly be read through or kind of observed through in the final battle, but otherwise all this stuff, I mean, this is completely out of the movie. They're fighting in a library, and this one, yeah, I guess, but it's in most of the trailers, so it's nothing new, but it's very unlikely. However, this does still leave a lot of question marks. I mean, we're not necessarily getting the exact same copy and paste update from Infinity War Part 1 to Part 2. Infinity War Part 1 only had 10 uniforms. Infinity War Part 2 had, I think, another 9 or 10, whereas 8 uniforms. Whereas we got 19 in the first half. I don't think we're going to get another 19 in the second half, let me be honest with you. However, I do think that there is still the possibility of giving out other new uniforms, whether they are for characters that are in Endgame that, you know, have another look possibly, or if it's for just other characters in general. Perhaps they're going to update some of the Black Order's looks or something else kind of tied to it. You know, no one really expected, for example, Doctor Strange to get an Infinity War uniform, and then he did, and it was a 350 uniform, and it was a big surprise. So that is a possibility. Additionally, they could also provide some tweaks, and we've kind of discussed this just briefly in other videos, but certain characters' uniforms for Endgame feel a bit rushed. They feel a bit kind of lackluster, and so if they're not going to be getting new uniforms, if they're not going to be getting any sort of other treatment, if there's some sort of new way of upgrading your characters, you know, we got the type enhancement. If there was something related to Infinity Stones, which I've speculated for, you know, more than a year now, if there wasn't anything like that, and this is kind of the only change for characters like Iron Man, like War Machine, like, let's say, Rocket Raccoon or Nebula or Black Widow, then perhaps those characters need a little bit more love to put them a bit closer to the level of power that we've seen from some of these other Endgame uniforms like Ronin and like Thanos, because it is a bit skewed, whereas, to be honest, for Infinity War, they really hit it out of the park. I mean, a lot of the characters were bad before Infinity War, so it was a lot easier to make them good, if you think about it that way. It's much easier to take someone from 0 to 50 than it is to take someone from 50 to 100, because at 50 you're already doing things right, and you just have to find the few weaknesses that are left and patch them up. Whereas if a character is completely trash, anything you do for the character is going to be better than nothing. I mean, you can't make a character worse than 0, and some of these characters were literally zeros before Infinity War. Captain America was terrible before Infinity War. Iron Man was complete dog shit before Infinity War, and Star-Lord, there's so many. So it really was a lot easier for them that time around versus this time around, but they still can make changes, I think, if they want to, and if it's kind of something that the community wants. So I actually don't have a longer list of suggestions. We can see the pattern. I think if you guys are also wondering about the first sneak peek, because I went back and I looked, the first sneak peek for Part 2 of Infinity War was given or landed on the 15th of May. So if you're curious about that, we still have at least 2 more weeks, 2 and a bit more weeks, probably like 17, 18 days before we're going to see any sneak peeks, whether it's going to be the look for Thor's uniform, whether it's going to be the look for Captain Marvel's uniform that we've kind of already semi-confirmed, or something else entirely to give us a better idea of what it could be for Endgame Part 2. Now, there is still a chance, because this is all speculation, that there is no Endgame Part 2, and we're just going to suddenly get uniforms for Thor and Captain Marvel, or they're going to let us know that, in fact, those uniforms were never supposed to be there, and it was a mistake, which is a very small chance. But, again, I can't promise anything because I don't know. So I just want to cover all my bases by giving, every possible angle verbally to you guys, so that no one thinks that I'm promising anything. So let me know what you guys think. I'm really curious what you would like to see from a part 2 of Endgame, whether it's uniforms for existing characters, whether it's new characters. We've speculated about Rescue and we've speculated about Okoye and those kinds of characters, or whether it is game mode changes and what you want to see in terms of a changed or updated game mode like ABX or Alliance Conquest or something like that. Hit me up in the comments, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Discord. Thank you all so much for the support and the continued love. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.